should all our past be biased and balance? What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty-handed. I wonder, would you love me better if I go? I'm not home. I wanna know. Can we trust the stars about to let us know? How to go?
Right? Almost showtime.
Almost showtime.
Ready?
I am. Are you ready?
Ooh,
You 8 on the dot, baby.
I know it. Oh man, now you're telling me. That's a little long. Alexa, make the temperature upstairs 75. Alexa, make the temperature upstairs 75. We's here. We's here again.
Yes, we are.
We's here again. Get that. Ooh, all right, good people. Hopefully you can hear us wherever you are. Who's ever watching, whoever might be out there. That you're here, you've been able to come in and be a part of this thing, elevating marriages. Let me make sure we get our levels. I think you're good, baby.
You think what do you think you're accomplishing with these reads every week?
Oh, well, let me introduce myself first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
You're getting a little ahead of yourself.
Oh, what was I thinking?
I don't know. Sometimes I'll be wondering. I am James Lee.
Go ahead. Speak.
And this is my wife, Tasha Lee. we are Elevate Marriages. We are here to give you the deets on this marriage thing. Try to kind of help you in your marriage life, to help you kind of navigate the things that might give you some troubles at times, and a lot of wins, a lot of good things, a lot of things you might have to try to overcome. But we are here to give you our experience in the marriage relationship and hope that it can be able to help you to avoid some of those things, and even encourage some of the positive behaviors that we put out there for you to enhance your marriage. So we hope that you're able to listen and share this with someone that might need it, even if it's not you.
Right.
Share it. Let that message be out to someone that can actually use it. Because I know you know someone, even if it isn't you.
And of course, we do not even want to pretend like we have it all together or that it's been perfect.
Well, you do. You got it.
What we bring on a weekly basis is just from our experience, in hopes that we can make it a little bit easier for you. We appreciate the opportunity to be before you. We don't take it lightly at all. And I know I say that almost every video, but we really don't, because you don't have to, take a few minutes to spend with us. But we hope that the nuggets that we give you for your basket is something you can use. If you can't use it today in your marriage or tomorrow in your marriage, like James said, share it. Share it. Somebody can use it.
Absolutely.
The goal is to build stronger marriages. And I think that's what we're missing in this world. Stronger marriages, stronger unions. So if we can contribute to that in some way, we want to be able to do so. Which is what I said a little prematurely earlier, is why we've been reading Marriage Be Hard by Kevin and Melissa Fredericks. I say this too, since we've been reading this. I am so proud of them. I'm just so proud of them. Like our little internet cousins or something, because we're not that close.
Yes.
But
yes.
I'm just so proud of the book. I'm proud of what they've been doing. I'm proud of their example of marriage. So it just really does me good that we're reading it. I'm really happy about that. So last week, while James is doing whatever James is doing, last week we started on communication. Communication was a long chapter, right? But we talked about communication, and now we're going to do the second part of that chapter. So one of the things that we learned is that Melissa, sometimes Melissa be tripping.
Sometimes.
For real,
Yeah.
she be tripping.
Yeah.
But she is a work in progress, of course, and I'm glad about it. But she talks a lot about the type of communication that you should have. Do you remember
Yes.
what they were, baby? What it was?
Verbal,
Really?
written,
Really?
um,
What are the things,
clear,
the things that your
concise.
communication should have in it? What should they be?
Well,
Honest,
your honest and transparent
and one
words.
more, which is probably
Honest,
the hardest,
transparent, and vulnerable.
and vulnerable.
Yeah, you want to be vulnerable in this space. That probably is the most difficult, but it is what it is. We really want to be able to navigate this. So if you're in Facebook, we appreciate if you like, share. If you're in YouTube, like and share and subscribe. If you're on Instagram, do the same. Give us some hearts, show some love, and ask some questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions. We do have live comments coming in on the Facebook and YouTube page that we're paying attention to in front of us. So if you have anything that you want us to discuss or any questions, please feel free to jump over there and we can answer those directly as we read through these chapters.
You ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to start with Melissa. And again, this is communication be hard.
And just in case you just, joined us and you been under a rock somewhere, this is Marriage Be Hard.
Yes.
Marriage Be Hard.
12 conversations to keep you laughing, loving, and learning with your partner. If you've missed it, we've already done expectations be hard, and we did jealousy be hard, and the beginning of communication be hard. Now we're going to do the second part. It has brought up some great conversations.
Yes, it has.
And we hope that it continues to do that, because I think that's what it's supposed to do, right? Open up the dialogue between you and your spouse.
Yes.
What are you talking about? What are they talking about? How can you relate to what they're saying? How can you relate to what we're saying about the communication as well? So here we go. Melissa says, the truth is it takes effort to be honest, transparent, and vulnerable. If there's an issue that needs resolving, if there's a breakdown in communication, things will not get solved unless we strive to be effective. In my frustration and anger about our work parties, I did not take the time or make the effort to communicate effectively, and the whole thing blew up in my face. I took a stand in my own head, and Kevin had no clue that I even had a stand to take. I'm going to add to my definition of effective communication, because I think another layer is important. You need to be able to effectively articulate your thoughts, feelings, and emotions in a way that the receiver not only understands, but also receives without getting defensive or dismissive. All right, hold up. So it sounds like she's taking responsibility for herself, but she's also taking responsibility for the way that he receives it.
Yes.
Let me read it one more time.
Yeah, because we can unpack that for a second.
Okay. You need to be able to effectively articulate your thoughts, feelings, and emotions in a way that the receiver not only understands, but also receives without getting defensive or dismissive. Be careful, she says, to choose words that don't make your spouse feel blamed, because then the defense mechanism might kick in. For us, those words are "you always."
Come on.
Any sentence that starts that way leads to trouble. Be mindful of messages that could be taken as finger pointing. Lead by describing your feelings instead of criticizing your partner's actions. Well, first of all, the other thing is we always talking about "you always" or "always," or
and never.
You know that's not true.
It's not true. Nothing
it
is
can't be always or never.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. But I think that's important. I like that.
So when I think about that, though, you ever heard that person that says, I said it, that's just how I am, or I said it, I meant what I said.
You know how I am.
Yeah.
And I've always did it like that.
That doesn't make it right, though.
That's right.
And if you offend, especially your spouse, you should be big enough to apologize to make that right. Not necessarily for what you said, because what you said may have been right, but how you deliver it matters.
How you made me feel.
Right. You don't want to make someone feel small or feel, less than because of the way you delivered something, because unfortunately the message can get lost. They'll be focused on how you made them feel rather than what you said. And you'll be repeating that again in 2 weeks. And so, wait, I just said this, but they weren't focused on that.
Right. Our relationship check-ins actually started recently in quarantine when my therapist suggested I use an app to write down my feelings about our marriage. Here I was writing all these complaints down, making a list of things Kev did to bother me, but he didn't know about any of it. It certainly wasn't doing our relationship any good. In fact, it ended up feeling like I was keeping evidence of all the reasons I was angry at my husband. I decided to ditch the app and make it verbal instead. That's how the relationship check-ins were born. It's been a huge step in our effective communication. I do think it's important to take note of things that bother you, but I think it's equally important to take note of things that make you happy.
Absolutely.
I appreciate today something you're grateful for. Each day you can write down something, one thing about your spouse that you really are appreciative of or grateful for. And so at the end of the week, when they have gotten on your ever-loving nerve, the very last one that you saved, when they have gotten on that one, then you take that list out and you remember, oh man, Monday he did this. Oh, Tuesday he did this. Wednesday he did this. And let the good things add up too, because so often we end up using all the bad stuff. We can pull all the bad stuff out. And those things can support whatever argument we're trying to say because of the always or the never argument. But if you can also have things to say, yeah, I guess it's not always, because Monday he did do this. Oh, I guess sometimes he does make me feel like he loves me because Tuesday he did this. So being able to have an account of those things to remind you of it. But I like what she says too about being verbal, because when you do something good, you want to know.
Absolutely.
You want to know that they saw it, that they appreciated it. So verbal is good, but writing things down to help you remember when you're in the valley is important too. Here's an account of one of our recent relationship check-ins. Last year, Kevin and I were discussing ending the Love Hour podcast. We'd had a ton of conversations about it, and despite knowing how to effectively communicate, I hid some of my real reasons for wanting to end the podcast, which included recognizing that the schedule was putting a lot of strain on Kevin's time and energy. He's a traveling comedian with a ton of things to do when he's home, and I wanted to gift him with some of his time back. These were my unsaid sentiments. The podcast was a moneymaker, so walking away from it also meant leaving income on the table. But when I did mention that to Kevin, he encouraged me to not worry about the money. He said he would be fine. We would be fine, which provided me with a lot of peace about walking away. Fast forward to after I made the public announcement that we were bringing the podcast to a close. Kevin and I were in the car, and he mentioned that he was going to start a new podcast. I immediately became defensive, and my feelings were hurt. He said one of his primary reasons for starting a new one was that he needed to replace the money we were making from the Love Hour. Why you laughing? Just go ahead. Why you laughing?
Well, he said we'll be okay, right?
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, the double talk. It's basically,
I'm
said,
glad you see it.
We'll be okay,
Uh-huh.
but I'm going to do something else and bring that money back. And, I mean, it's...
So he was trying to comfort her with a lie? Because maybe we won't be okay.
Well, not a lie, because what we're built to do is to love our wives wherever they are. And in doing so, he wants to give you a word of comfort so you don't worry about the income. We'll be fine. We'll be fine means I'll figure something out. I'll get it taken care of.
She should know that we'll be fine means I'll figure it out.
Not saying she should know, but
effective communication, though.
Essentially,
right? Because
that goes
he
along.
Said, sweetie, we can step back from that. I have some other ideas of some of the things I'd like to do.
This is true. He could have.
He did not, though.
He could have.
But he didn't. I was offended and a little dejected. Here I was trying to give him his time back, and he immediately filled it with something else. I sat there stewing, telling myself that he was never interested in hosting with me to begin with. Oh, now come on, listen.
She be tripping.
But instead of going down the spiral that I normally do, like I did when I blew off his colleague's wedding, I pivoted and launched a check-in. I said, hey, can we talk about this? Honestly, I'm feeling a little like you never wanted to do the podcast in the first place. And furthermore, the instant you had gained more time to spend with family or relax a bit, you filled it with another item on your to-do list. The conversation was uncomfortable and a little intense. But by the end, Kevin was able to explain some deep fears he'd been carrying about being able to take care of his family. He explained that he would always be willing to bear the burden of maintaining our financial security. Kevin said he wanted me to be the queen of the castle. He wanted to protect me at all costs, which meant he was willing to exert himself to exhaustion if that's what it took. I want to be clear. This is noble. This is beautiful. This man clearly loves me and his family. But I don't want to be the queen kept in the castle. I want to be his battle mate. I told Kev that I wanted to be by his side in the fight, swords drawn, facing the enemy together. The lack of clear communication between us made me feel like my contribution wasn't valued and that my husband didn't want to work with me. It was a clear case of bad communication. But the check in allowed us to work through our feelings, hear each other, and understand each other, and end up on the same page. Gary.
A lot of times we fail to effectively communicate for fear of what our partners will think, feel, or say. We think we're protecting their feelings, but theirs end up getting hurt. I've started encouraging Melissa to speak up for herself because for too many years, I was writing Melissa's responses for her in my head, and those responses were always negative. I realized that in the midst of a conversation, I'd be on high alert, bracing for the worst possible response. But when Melissa came out with what she had to say, it completely surprised me. It rarely tracked with what I thought was going to come out. I had been breaking down the lines of communication between us for so long that I didn't even know what I was doing or that I was doing it. You might think that keeping your feelings to yourself is keeping the peace. And maybe it works that way at first. But that thing is going to go unsaid for a long time. Weeks, months, years. Eventually, the dam is going to break. And it's all going to spew out. Suddenly, instead of us just talking about the fact that he doesn't remove his shoes in the house, you're fighting about the fact that he doesn't make the bed or clear the dishes or remember your anniversary, and that his job isn't good enough. And that's why the two of you are stuck in a small house. When you don't speak up on your behalf, resentment builds up. Mm-hmm. Here's a recent example. When we get in bed, I'm tired, and I know I've got to be at the gym at 5 a.m. Melissa, on the other hand, can't fall asleep until she watches every episode of Grey's Anatomy. Excuse me. Most of the time, my instinct is to not say anything. After all, even though I'm dead to the world, if Melissa is awake in the bed next to me, there's a glimmer of hope that sex might occur.
Really?
That's what it says.
Really?
But if given the choice between sleep and watching McDreamy and McSteamy battle it out, I choose sleep. I like the television to be off, but I don't want.
Sorry.
But I don't want to make Melissa mad, so I end up watching with her. And the next morning at the gym, I'm dragging. If I keep going like this, I'm going to resent her. If I were to communicate effectively, I would say, "Liz, I'm dog tired, but I'm up for the butt if you are."
Oh, then he awake. Then he's awake.
Oh yeah,
okay.
If you're giving them cheeks.
Okay.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. See.
If not, could we please turn off the TV? Otherwise, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow.
So really, that's I'm going to bed, you going to bed.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that how bad is that? If I'm going to sleep, you're going to sleep. Why'd you whip your hand like that?
Because you literally.
That is irrelevant.
Is irrelevant? Are we being honest and transparent in here? Because I thought that's what this is about. You know, we was elevating.
No, is that what we're doing?
Somebody at this table lying.
What? You have one table.
Okay, at these tables.
Okay, what were you gonna say? That I mean, I don't literally mean you have to go to sleep. I love for you to go to bed with me, of course. Like when I'm going to bed, because I sleep better when you're right next to me.
Right.
But I like, okay, turn off that podcast, turn off that YouTube or whatever. I may say turn it down so I can sleep, but
well, yeah, that's true. You may say that because I usually get my headphones or something.
But if you don't, I mean.
If I don't, well, I try to do that though.
It sounds like Kev wants Melissa to go to sleep.
He just wants her to go to sleep. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Which, you know, is a bit unfair. But I think the fact that she can't go to sleep is he knows that, but he just prefer that she at least tried to do that rather than stay up watching McDreamy and McSteamy. When your partner doesn't communicate, sometimes you can tell something is wrong, but you don't know what it is. So you assume the worst. To break this cycle, Melissa and I came up with a solution. Here's how it goes. If I notice that Melissa seems off, I ask her what's up. The agreement we now have is that I will accept whatever she answers, whatever answer she gives. So if she says I'm fine or nothing's wrong, I will know that means that's nothing wrong.
Nothing's wrong.
Nothing for me to do, and I should leave it alone. Melissa knows that if she says she's all good, she has to be accountable to it because I'm going to choose to believe her. But our agreement also gives her agency to speak up when something is bothering her. That's an awesome rule to have because many times, you know, people say, "Oh, you okay?" And no, I'm good, and they're really not good. Just like I think it was last week someone mentioned about why didn't he go and chase her in the shower to find out why she was crying. He's like, well, he asked her what was wrong. And if he asked her what was wrong and she said nothing, I'm okay, then he's accepting that as the answer. Don't say you're okay if you're not okay.
And I think that's what she was talking about in the first part of communication too, about being honest, transparent, and definitely vulnerable, because she would have to explain why she was so upset to tears as well, and being able to talk that through so that he understands if he even played a part in it.
Right.
Because sometimes it could be all us.
Absolutely.
Very rarely. But
usually is.
I knew you were going to say that.
The other night, we had friends over for dinner. And the moment they walked out the door, Melissa's energy immediately dropped near to zero. I figured that I had done something wrong. My plan had been to try to have sex after they left. But the way her mood shifted, I knew that was off the table. I asked her if she was okay. She said yes, but I knew she wasn't. So I pushed a little bit. She admitted that she felt insecure. One of the female friends at the house that night had been laughing and joking around with me in a way that, while not flirty or sexual, was kind of fun Melissa and I don't often have. Melissa's admission was a win. In the past, she wouldn't have revealed why she was upset until much later. But in that moment, when we weren't communicating, I knew how to speak to her feelings. She appreciated my effort, and we had a very productive conversation about it, which was an even bigger win. And I got the draws.
James Lee.
Oh, sorry.
Let me see.
He didn't say that.
I knew he didn't say that.
But sometimes,
read.
But sometimes the system breaks down. One time at the beginning of quarantine, when we were getting used to being home all day and night together, Melissa seemed quieter than usual. I followed the rules, asked her what was wrong, and believed her when she said she was fine. I took her at her word and left the room to watch The Office by myself, even though that didn't feel right to me. Sure enough, she was mad. Oh, so now you're just going to... So now you're just going to be away. Leaving her alone didn't help, but pushing her for an answer didn't help either. I felt helpless. I didn't know how to make her feel safe enough to tell me what she was thinking. I couldn't force her into a good mood. I was at my wit's end. I just distanced myself, hoping it would pass.
Go back. One of the things he said, didn't know how to make her feel what?
I didn't know how to make her feel safe enough to tell me what she was thinking.
I think you hit on that last week, right? About feeling safe enough to give you that vulnerable part of me. Melissa mentioned that a couple of times. So I don't know if it's because through what we're reading, we can't see that Kev is not making her feel safe. But what could make your spouse feel safe enough that they can be vulnerable with you, that you're not going to take advantage of what they're saying of that moment? I wouldn't even say weakness, but that moment of vulnerability.
Right.
Know that you are putting it all out there, that you're not going to be mad about it. You're not going to use it against them next week. That's the kind of atmosphere you want to create. A safe environment so that they can feel comfortable talking.
You have to do it that way. Otherwise, you're not going to find out what might be bothering. As I mentioned last week, the fellas, we kind of deal with our own, thoughts and ideas on our own for the most part. So if we ever let that guard down, that wall, into a space where we want to be, vulnerable with you, and you violate it by, holding over our heads or bringing it up, like, or calling us names or anything that would make the us doing that feel uncomfortable, then you can hang it up. It's probably not going to happen again because, oh no, I tried that last time. She was tripping, so I'll just deal with it by myself. So most guys, we don't want no drama. For real, we really don't want drama, man. We'll concede many times just to keep the peace. So,
however, we are learning that it's not about conceding, but that little relationship check-in that they talked about, talking through it.
Absolutely.
Even if it's an example, even if it means you saying how they're blowing you off, or you feel like they're not telling you the truth, that may be a whole nother conversation. So talking through it, I think, really makes a difference. Melissa, guilty as charged. One of my worst habits is recognizing a problem and then creating the environment for the problem to persist. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's read that one more time. One of my worst habits.
Say it loud for the people in the back.
Is recognizing a problem and then creating the environment for the problem to persist. I'm going to have to get my highlight. I think I took it downstairs.
Did you take it downstairs?
I did. Okay. I'm going to have to remember that because that's good. That's good right there. I have a real fear of being needy or being a nag. So in my efforts to avoid those labels, I can be guilty of sending mixed messages.
Uh-oh.
I want to feel and act like an independent woman.
Oh, come on now.
Secretly, I want Kev around more than I care to admit. And I don't know how to articulate it. Now, that problem I do not have.
What's wrong with these independent women? I don't get it. I'm glad that you don't have that either, baby.
Now, I am definitely independent, but I need him 100%. And I tell him every chance I get, I need you, I need you, I need you. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't care who knows it. Okay. This comes up a lot in our marriage. We can be at home watching television, sitting on separate sofas. And instead of saying, hey, I want you to come sit next to me, I say, you just don't ever want to be by my side. Be beside me. Ever.
Don't ever.
Never. Always. Remember those words. Try to get them out of your vocabulary. Just go then. When he goes, it confirms that my fear is justified and leaves me feeling even more insecure. Or sometimes when Kevin is on his way home, he'll call and ask if I'm hungry. When I say no, he comes home with no food for me. My feelings are hurt. Now that's a no-no. We're not gonna do that.
So that must have been early in his marriage because he has to know. Come on, fellas. Let me just tell you.
Please.
If she says
she's
not hungry,
right?
What she means is she's not hungry enough for you to get her something, but she will gladly eat some of yours. That's what that means.
And it just does not make sense for you to come home with just something for yourself, because I might not be hungry when we're on the phone, but I will be hungry when you get there.
Don't say it doesn't make sense, because
it doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense if I ask you if you want something
in the moment,
and you
babe.
No, forget the moment. If I'm around the corner, hey, I'm at Jack in the Box. Do you want something? And Jack in the Box is around the corner, and you say no, I'm getting you something anyway. Because I already know. I've been married to you long enough.
Ding, 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 ding.
So I already know. Because you're going to say, let me get a bite. Like, no, this is mine. I asked you if you wanted some. If you want me to go back to Jack in the Box and get you some, I can get you some.
You going to go back to Jack in the Box?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. I'd already have you some, because I already know how you are. So.
Okay, this is definitely a lesson learned from 23 years of marriage. But please, newlyweds, don't do it. And if she says she's not hungry and you bring her something anyway, I promise you getting points for that.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Cake points, not brownies.
Yeah,
cake, full cake points.
You better believe it.
Okay? So just get a little something. You know what she like. Nah, don't be like that.
Hear me what I tell you when I tell you now. Listen.
This comes up a lot in marriage. Okay. One night I was hanging out at my friend Danny's house, and I texted Kev that I was going to be late, so he shouldn't wait up. When I got home at 1 a.m. and found Kev asleep, I was legit mad, and he didn't stay up to make sure I got home safely.
Kev, I hope you was early in your marriage, bro.
Here were the mixed messages. I cannot believe he went to sleep before she got home. Now, you know better. Hopefully he was on the couch, though, so he can hear when she came in. Number one, the mixed messages. I'm an independent woman and I can do what I want. Number two, you need to be concerned about my well-being. I could have been dead in a ditch. It's a whole self-fulfilling prophecy resulting from ineffective communication. There were definitely mixed messages there. I understand it a little bit, though.
Why are y'all like that, ladies? Why are y'all like that?
Really?
I mean, for real.
Because of course we want to be independent, and the wait for me to get home, you should do that anyway, because you are my protector. So you need to wait till I get home. The food, that might be slightly crazy. I'm in agreement with it, but it may be just a little bit crazy. So you're not gonna get me to say nothing bad about Melissa.
You are crazy now. You are. Let's not. Yeah. Well, that's not.
Okay. Now moving on. Yes. No mixed messages is basically what I was trying to get at.
Yes, Melissa, my beautiful wife, won't ask for what she needs. She goes so far out of her way to avoid being a nag, which she probably started doing after the first time I called her a nag.
Which was rude and disrespectful.
That she ends up internalizing all her feelings and keeping the things I do that upset her tucked away inside. Mm-hmm. It turns out that the behavior we used to refer to as nagging was actually Melissa's making sure she had a voice and that I was listening.
So it wasn't a safe environment for her to say what she wanted to say, because when you called her a nag, it became unsafe. So now she doesn't say it at all.
Right.
Again, creating a safe environment to be able to speak.
It was her speaking up about the things that she didn't like, even if it was just about cleanliness or my sweatpants. My labeling it nagging shined a negative light on it and made her want to avoid it at all costs. And it allowed me to weasel out of the things that I didn't want to do. What I had essentially done was make Melissa feel fearful of telling me what bothers her, because she didn't want to feel like or be called a nag. We've dealt with couples before that have used that nag term, and it's one that can be thrown around just when something is brought up. And I think it's kind of misused all the time, like a lot of terms we hear these days. But the fact remains, you want to still make sure that you're fostering an environment where she can be vulnerable and comfortable with sharing her feelings.
And sometimes I think when you say, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when you start talking about, oh, you're nagging, is to deflect what it is that she's bringing up. Or he's bringing up. Either way, the husband to the wife to the husband. I'm trying to tell you something, and you're saying, oh, I'm nagging you, but it does not negate the fact that you really are doing this or that. Can we stay on topic?
In her defense, though, I'm a crybaby. I can't really handle being told about things I'm doing wrong, especially if it's a bunch of things in a row. I've had to work on taking what she says in stride so she knows she has a soft place to land when she's asking me to make adjustments. I now know what to do when she's asking me to make adjustments. I now know what to do when Liz is passive aggressive. For example, in the situation she described above, when we're in the living room together and she wants us to sit closer, I don't need her to say all the words to know what to do. I get my butt off the chair and go cozy up next to her. That's the thing with being with someone for a long time. You might develop your own way of communicating effectively. Even though I know that Melissa needs what she needs when we're on the sofa in front of the television, things aren't always clear in the bedroom. Over the years, we've had some problems with effective communication when it comes to sex. Truth is, Melissa doesn't turn me down for sex often, but I'm not so good at getting rejected. No one is. It used to be that when she was too tired and didn't want to have sex, I would pitch a fit. I mean, I would turn as far away from her as possible and curl into a ball and pretend to sleep. I was communicating that if she didn't do exactly what I wanted her to do, exactly when I wanted her to do it, then I was going to behave like a spoiled child. Mm-hmm. She was left feeling that if she said no, I was going to go throw a whole rigmarole. Melissa needed agency. She needed me to support her by giving her the opportunity to say yes or no to sex, with no reward or punishment from me either. When I matured about the whole thing, Melissa felt more valued, allowing her to make the decision that fit her mood and desire instead of worrying about how I reacted. The actress and comedian Yvonne Orji once spoke of meeting a fan at an event who asked to take a selfie with her. When she said no to the photo, the fan got upset. She realized that the fan's request wasn't really a question, it was a demand.
Right.
If you're genuinely asking for something, you should accept and respect the person's yes or no. That's the perfect analogy for our sex life. I have been putting Melissa in the same position, where the only acceptable answer to my request for sex was yes. When I allowed her to voice her own feelings without my throwing a pity party, Melissa felt empowered, and it led to positive changes in our sex life. We recently had an argument about sex that easily could have been avoided if we had used what we know about effective communication. As you will read in the chapter Sex Be Hard, excuse me, as you will see when you read the chapter Sex Be Hard, good smells turn her on, and recent pooping turns me off.
Oh boy. I guess we'll read that one next.
For us, taking a shower before bed is a path to sex. If one of us asks the other if we like to take a shower, that's essentially an invitation to have sex. One night, we were on track for sex. I mean, things were looking good. But then I pooped. Again, you will soon read that pooping is an obstacle to sex in our house. There will be no sex unless pooping is immediately followed by a shower. In this instance, I didn't say anything about showering before getting into bed. Melissa also, without saying anything, turned off the light, wrapped herself in a blanket burrito. The message I got was,
negative.
I don't want to have sex tonight. But she'd already gotten the same message from me when I pooped and didn't follow up with a shower. As the pooper, I should have said, do you want to get in the shower? But I was mad because I felt like she shut me down by turning off the light. I didn't realize that I'd sent the first message of rejection. Both of us could have said something to shift the outcome. This is an example of providing meta messages, relying on nonverbal communication instead of expressing what you really need. Effective communication takes work.
Yes.
In addition to deciding that the two of you will make an effort, you should pay attention to aspects of your relationship that might be getting in the way. Here's some solutions to roadblocks that inhibit healthy, robust, effective communication. Now, before we do that, we did want to say, of course, you know, this is a Christian ministry. And I only want to address this because we've heard it being used before. You know, the word speaks of not denying oneself or each other, because, you know, your body belongs to her and hers to you, and so on and so forth, right? Well, yes, while that's true, you don't want to deny yourself, and, you know, except for an agreed upon time where you separate or whatever, for whatever the reason is, fasting, praying, or, you know, doing those times, right?
Yeah.
Your cycle or whatever. But you never want to weaponize sex. You don't want it to be like you mentioned, a reward or rejection type kind of system, or I'm not going to let you do this, or I'm not going to let you do that. That's not the way it was given. It was given to us as husband and wife as a gift, for our pleasure, to enjoy one another. So that's the way you want to use it. Now, it has been devalued so many times now, because people that aren't married are having sex just so freely. So it doesn't have the hold that it should have, or once had, shall I say. But like we said last week, there's no sex like married sex. And when you do it the right way, the way that God meant it to be, it's next level. So just know that you don't want to deny each other, but you also, you don't want to pressure anyone, as he's mentioned here, into doing it. If it's something, you don't want to be throwing a fit and acting like, you can't do this or do that or whatever. So value it and make sure that, you're both communicating about your feelings in that space. So
good, man. That's true.
All right, here's some solutions to roadblocks that inhibit healthy, robust, effective communication. Using a soft startup. When you want to broach a sensitive subject and you're not looking for an argument, we suggest an intro that clarifies your intention. Something like, this is going to be a difficult conversation. Or, I have something to say that may strike a nerve with you, but I want to have this conversation with you and I don't want to upset you. Marriage researcher John Gottman calls this approach the soft startup. He explains that softening the entry point of an argument is vital to resolving conflicts in your relationship. Coming at your partner with less negativity makes them more receptive to your needs. If you enter an argument swinging your heaviest ammo, you're going to give the other person emotional whiplash. So pause at the beginning and frame the conversation. This has been bothering me for a while, and I want to share it with you to move past it. The soft startup reminds your partner that you're on the same side and ensures that no one's feelings are attacked.
Sometimes, because I think when you start, I like it. I like the sentiment of it. But when you start that way, I think sometimes guards go straight up. So your guard's up.
They can.
Up here, ready to go. It's like, okay, what are you going to say? That kind of thing. So try not to do that. If you hear that coming, be open to, okay, this is some way that we can make things better. Not that, oh, I'm about to come out swinging. Let me see what he's coming up with now so I can come up with something heavier. Be open to say, okay, he wants to talk about something, might be a little heavy. I'm open to that because it may make our relationship, it will make our relationship better. Let's look at it on the positive side.
And give some credit to the person for opening up and sharing that stuff with you, because it's not always easy. It's not comfortable, especially if it's something that's going to make the other one upset, possibly, or to make them feel devalued in any way, because we don't want to say anything to hurt one another. So you want to just be certain that that it's coming from a good place. And if it's coming from a good place and we do the soft startup, then the conversation should go smoother.
I like it. I like that suggestion. That was good.
I think of an easy entry as a very important lubrication to the conversation. In conflict, as in sex, you don't want to just jam it in there.
This dude right here, something is up.
The emotional lube makes talking smoother and easier so the discussion glides without any rough patches.
James Lee, let me see.
Why are you?
Okay. Very good.
Another way to keep things silky smooth is the compliment sandwich.
Compliment. Oh,
start and finish with something nice. I'm a pro at this. For example, one time Melissa made chicken meatloaf. Chicken meatloaf.
If you can make turkey meatloaf, you can make chicken meatloaf.
I guess. Now, to set the stage, traditionally her meatloaf is amazing. She makes it with a mix of ground beef and veal, and the end result is incredible. I mean, better than a Greasy Spoon's Diner's meatloaf. Better than your mama's meatloaf. The type of meatloaf that could beat Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay would come to town with some big city meatloaf, and the local townspeople would laugh him right out of the city. It is that good. So anyway, there's one time when she was trying to make us eat healthier as a family, she decided to switch it up and make chicken meatloaf. Oh. What a mistake. The meatloaf was God-forsaken. This meatloaf wouldn't be fed to soldiers who hadn't had a hot meal in days for fear of lowering company morale. Nobody in the family liked this meatloaf. Something had to be said. In that moment, the compliment sandwich looked like this. Babe, we truly appreciate you making dinner and going out of your way to try to make us healthier as a family. We really, really appreciate that. However, chickens were never intended to be made into meatloaf. That is not what God wanted out of their lives. It's unnatural. Heaven has turned a blind eye. Next time, can you go back to the meatloaf you perfected? We love that meatloaf. That meatloaf is amazing. Nothing is wrong with it. The spicy ketchup sauce is the creme de la creme. Thank you again, babe. It is truly appreciated.
I have heard this speech. I am not the cook, first of all. So let me just say that. And most of you who know me and love me anyway knows that I'm not the cook. You know I'm not the cook. So anyway, I make a mean biscuit though. You hear what I'm saying?
Woo,
a from scratch biscuit. But when I tell you I have changed this recipe at least 6 or 7 times. Now, those of you who have had my biscuits, I don't know which recipe you have had, but I assure you, you loved it. But my guinea pig here and my other 2 guinea pigs are quick to, why you change the recipe is usually the first question. Why you switch it up? Not, this one doesn't taste good. This one is dry. This one is, I don't know, a hockey puck. I don't know. They don't say any of that. They really don't. So I'm grateful for that they have mercy on me and protect my feelings. But they do say that, why don't you go back to the other recipe, the one we had before? Remember when we had this and this, that recipe? Oh, I really like that recipe. Those biscuits were this, this, and this. So that little compliment sandwich probably does go a long way. Yeah. It's appreciated.
Your biscuits are delicious.
Which I got a new recipe.
No, don't change. Do not change a thing. Keep it how it is. Don't change it. You're killing me out here.
What?
I mean, yeah.
Anyway.
Keep in mind that no one likes getting reprimanded, particularly me. I don't want to hear that I messed up. And I usually try to turn the conversation around by pointing to the things I do well. I take Melissa's critique as an indictment of my entire husbandship and then go looking for examples that disprove what she said. Remember that time I was a good father? He's so stupid. Oh my goodness. One time Melissa told me I take up too much space in our conversation. I should have closed my mouth and given her plenty of room to talk. Wow. But instead, I pointed to a time at one of our conferences where I did not take up all the space. And then, being supremely petty and childish, I said, fine. You can plan the conference by yourself. I won't help you at all since I take up too much space. That's how my mind works every time. What Melissa says, we don't work together well as a team. What I hear, we don't work together well as a team. I don't want to work with you. I don't want to be with you. We're probably getting a divorce. There's another guy that I'm secretly talking to that I like, and he'll come home and be my husband. I know I'm being ridiculous. And these days, I'll let her know that I know that. I now say, these are my feelings to own and work through. That way, I'm being vulnerable, which is something she appreciates. Getting to that point required some self-reflection, self-work, and therapy for me. I had to seek out personal professional help and later couples therapy. There are things I know how to fix. If a joke isn't working on my show, I make adjustments. But vulnerability is harder, particularly because I didn't know it was a thing until I learned that I wasn't good at it. How could I be good at something that I didn't even know I needed to do or have to be? But in a relationship, the stakes are too high to not get it right. It's 8 minutes. Yeah, it's key to understand that this communication piece, man, a lot of times folks don't realize that how you're communicating is an issue. The examples that he just gave, she said one word, we don't work well together. And then he wrote a whole story in his head that she didn't want to be with him. She didn't, she got a whole nother man, and all this other foolishness.
And they're getting a divorce.
We want to be careful with that. Words matter, but we don't want our thoughts to take us out of hand. Because really, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I was telling them about the way the enemy works, and so many times we blame the enemy for so much. Well, the devil made me do it, and he was in my ear, and blah blah blah. Devil has no power over you, zero. What power he has is the power of suggestion, and that suggestion, if you go on it, that's where we end up failing. The mistakes and the choices that we make that are put in our ear. Even when he was trying to tempt Jesus and talking when he was hungry, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to get some bread," and he was like, "Nah, player, man can't live on bread alone, and I'm good. I'm gonna be out here. I'm doing my Father's work. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Take that to somebody else, right? Because the sin isn't in the temptation. It's not in the suggestion. It's when we decide to pick it up and go and do it. So we have to just be careful that we stay first of all prayed up, and then we're communicating to the Father, and that we're living living our lives in a way that we as husbands can lead, so it covers our family, covers our children, and those little suggestions, those little things, even if they come, they'll be short-lived. They go in one ear and out the other. You have to live life that way. Otherwise, you'll have turmoil in it. Communication is great, but you have to do it effectively.
And I think one of the things he hits on is sometimes you just don't know how that works, right? I think we've been hearing that if you follow Elevate Marriages at all, we've always talked about how the anointing flows and making sure that we're in line so that we can receive the blessings. But sometimes it's like, I know that's what the word says, but what does that look like when it actually plays out in my marriage?
Because some of you never seen it.
I agree.
You never seen it. Your parents weren't there. Maybe you came from a single parent household, or maybe your parents never did it, and your grandparents never did it. You never been around anyone that's done it. So now you're just kind of really going about it the best way you know how.
But that's why you do get with some great marriage mentors that may elevate your marriage.
I see what you did there.
You like that? I like that too. Or you may find some therapy. Your marriage does not have to be on the rocks or in shambles in order for you to have a marriage mentor or for you to go to couple therapy.
You don't go to the dentist because you got a cavity all the time, or you just go for maintenance, right? You're supposed to go for maintenance.
That's right. That's right. Or you go to the doctor for a yearly checkup and those type of things. Your marriage has to work.
Or you get your oil changed.
Oh, that's another good one.
Right.
So we're just saying that the same thing we say on every video. When you know better, you do better. But try to know better. Learn more about marriage. Learn more about how to communicate better. Start seeking that out. But so often we don't. We think we know, and we're just going on, how our parents' marriage was or our best friend's marriage was. And that's not your marriage. We want better for your marriage.
Absolutely.
So that's why we encourage you to continue to talk to one another. Maybe pick up some of the things that Kev and Melissa were talking about. Definitely stay tuned to Elevate Marriages. We're giving all kinds of nuggets to make your marriage stronger. And to build it up, whether you're just got married, been married for a while, or you think you will be in the future.
Absolutely. So we hope that you guys continue to join us on these reads. We're doing these on Thursday.
Yeah. I have a few more chapters.
It's a great book. If you don't have the book, you should get it. You can get it on Amazon, but I think there's also a link if you go to Kevin's page. Because Amazon sometimes will suggest other authors that are being in competition with them, but I think there's a link on this page. I'll try to find it so y'all can buy it directly from their link. But get it, read it. It's on Audible if you like audiobooks. In their voices, they're reading it themselves. Mm-hmm. So just
doesn't sound as cool as us though.
Oh, of course not.
For real.
You don't get this hilarity, baby. Come on.
And they don't discuss it; they just read it. Yeah. So
they are doing some stuff on their YouTube page where they're kind of bringing people in and talking about it. They're not reading the book. But come on, you got to give the people
here. No, I'm just kidding.
We got to show them some love because it's really based on them. They're bringing folks in as they're talking about marriage be hard,
and they talk a little bit more in depth about their experiences too. But we appreciate, mainly I'm saying, I appreciate you guys tuning in to us as we read it and discuss it.
If you could please, if you've been on the video, you watched it. Shoot us some comments in the bottom, like it. If you're on YouTube, like that page, get us some engagement. We're trying to get this thing continue to grow it because it's been a blessing and we have been growing, but we want to be able to touch more people, get this message out because marriage is a thing that we have to make sure that is represented in the light. Too many times, folks, you hear about recent couples that you think will never get divorced, and they're breaking up. Tom Brady and his wife, Giselle, getting divorced, and the Tia Mowry girl and her husband getting divorced. And it's like, I'm praying against all of that. I hope they have a change of heart and that it all come back together. So
that's right.
Excuse me.
It can happen.
It definitely can happen. So do that. Keep fighting the fight because marriage be hard. You hear me? So until next time. Do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. I'm James Lee.
I'm Tasha Lee.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Peace.